These three women are the epitome of female role models. Courage, collaboration, and compassion. Our journey to the top. These three women are going to share their stories and advice with you all because they made it to the top, owning their own companies, being at the top of one of the largest aerospace, commercial aerospace companies, or the pinnacle of success. I mean, anyone who loves aerospace, NASA, wow. But ignore their titles. It's the journey behind their titles that counts. And I would be willing to bet money on it that you're going to need tissues for this one. So first today, I welcome co-founder and CEO of Genesis Aviation. My kind of woman, she's a proud and passionate Cuban. I can't tell you how much fun I've had getting to know her. She might own a company, but nothing is beneath her. You may have heard that good girls rarely make history. And Mary is most definitely not the good girl in the corner. In fact, the only F she got in school was for her conduct. I am allowed to say that, by the way. Feisty and fun with an amazing heart and so much wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Marty Lluhi.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this amazing summit and be surrounded and a part of these amazing women that I've heard and yet to come. My journey to the top. Immigrating from Cuba to Spain to the United States before the age of 9 made me believe that in order to survive, I had to look like, sound like, and act like everybody around me. Because if I didn't do so, I would be outcasted. And that was ingrained in me in a very early age. And as I grew older, I realized that every time that I would do that, I would lose a part of me. And who I am is not like everybody else, just like you're not like everybody else. I am highly creative. I am big picture person. In fact, I don't think outside the box because I don't have a box to think out of. I always see the potential in things, and I'm passionate and I am loud, which I'm a little proud of today, but I wasn't so much before. One of the key moments in my life that also molded me or allowed me to be the person that I am today is when I was 15 years old. I was doing something with my father, and my father, entrepreneur, big, loud Cuban, louder than me. But I was doing something with him and I got scared, so scared that I started crying and I literally stopped what I was doing. I became paralyzed. And my father started to scream at me and say, "Pa'lante, Mari, pa'lante," which means forward. And he then said, if you allow yourself to be stopped by this fear, you always fear it. And I don't know if I took that first step because I was more afraid of him than what had just happened, but I did that. I took that first step. And 10 minutes after another step, I was normal. I wasn't crying and I felt okay. So that was my first experience of true courage. Courage can look like the movie Braveheart, ta-da, right? But it really, day to day, it looks like taking a step, going into a meeting that you're afraid of, asking a question because you're afraid that you may be judged. Forget about that. It's never about you when people disagree with you, when people may put you down. It's not about you, it's about them. What's about you is you. And have the courage to be bold, to be yourself, to be passionate. Whatever it is that you are, have the courage to do that because that is what will allow you to not just achieve your goals, but boy, become a better person every step of the way. I started with my partner Genesis 26 years ago. we moved from Miami, where I had all my support system, to Greensboro, North Carolina. 26 years ago, the business model, and still to today, is catching up. Hi, Fiona. Uh, it's still catching up. Um, didn't fit, or let me rephrase, I didn't fit what the business model is. Business model doesn't allow for a creative mind, a person that communicates in a round way, meaning stories instead of fact, and everything else. So I didn't look like success. I didn't look like what people expected me to look like. I didn't sound like it, nothing. Talk about your worst nightmare coming through, right? Believing what I believed growing up. But what happened was that courage kept me taking one more step and one more step. And one of the things that I first realized is that I've always, since I can remember, been called stubborn. In fact, several people have said that I am the most stubborn person that they've ever met in their life. Now, what I've come to realize is that by taking that step and having a different experience, is that it's not really stubbornness that drives me. It's my will. It's that I know I know, and I see the potential. I have the vision, and my will goes for it, regardless of what comes along. And we're called certain names, and we start believing some of these stories, and why I want to share my reconstruction of the beliefs that I had and no longer do. One of my first aha moments in this business world that I didn't fit in is about 5 years into Genesis being open. I had to go into a meeting, and I was going to be the only woman there. And I was intimidated by these men, because these men were, well, taller than me, because I'm 5 feet tall, but they had big titles, they had, nice suits, and they spoke like the definition of what business people should speak like. So I walk in there anyway, because palante, Mari. And I sit down and I started to hear them. Now I was on battle mode. I'm like, oh, which is not a very good place to be a good listener in, because I wasn't listening, right? But somehow I settled, and I started to hear in an open way. And what I heard was that one of the men was like saying exactly what I was thinking. And then I saw that the next man was nervous, and that, it felt to me that he was intimidated. So what that did to me is it opened my being, my mind, and my emotions to how do I, what's the word I'm looking for, compassion. Because the more that I understood them, the more neutral that I became, the more neutral that I could see people and hear people, which allowed me to understand. And it was very empowering, because it's when I really understood what I sort of said earlier, which is, it's not about me. If somebody just comes at me, and I may be hurt by it emotionally, whatever it is, I do remember that it's not them against me. It's them trying to be for them, and that's a huge shift in me. What the second part of compassion started when I started to actually hear myself and see myself in a bigger picture, and notice that I had my own stories about me that weren't true. Now, I believe that my experience is that that was a harder piece of me to have compassion toward myself, because not even my biggest enemy could be as brutal as I was to me inside of me. And once I started to see that in me and go, Mari, that was okay. you're a freaking genius. What that, right? Whatever, be gentle with myself empowered me even more, because I started to believe in different levels and deeper levels that, you know what, I kick ass and I am smart and I can communicate and I can inspire anybody. And that is powerful. Um, After that, as Genesis grew, our team grew. And I want to speak about collaboration, because, you know, collaboration isn't something that you look up in Google and then decide to do. Collaboration takes work. And as a leader, how I started to bring my team into collaboration was by example. I have never and will never put myself and my needs in front of in front or higher than the needs. I don't care what the titles are in my team. Everybody has a piece, an important piece that without it, the team falters. So everybody that comes into Genesis Aviation is as important. I don't, I try to inspire people, and has happened because they found their own power in, you know, you don't bring your personality needs. If I feel like I need some attention, I don't bring that to the table. That's not the best use of me. I put that on the side burner, because what I want to bring to the table, it's all that I have to the team. And the power of collaboration is, I'll give you an example. The first year that Genesis Aviation came together, that the team came together and decided on a goal, and we all collaborated together, the company had 40% growth that year, 40%. That's the power of collaboration. So if you're in a team and you don't like the person next to you, fine, but put that in the background and start seeing them in a more open way. Start neutralizing that person, because that person has something to say and bring to the table. And that's really what I want to end up with. You know, bring who you are, have the courage to see who you are, what your gifts are, what your shortcomings are. Have that courage and go beyond them. You know, people always say the sky has no limits. No, the sky, yeah, the sky has no limits. It's a different saying, but you don't have any limits. The potential, go for that potential that you see in yourself and in others. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Marty. That was amazing. Now, some of you may recognize our next guest because she is well known for being a TEDx speaker, as well as the former Vice President of Marketing at Boeing. Fariba's actually an old friend of mine from my Rolls-Royce days, and she really looked out for me, and I really, really appreciate that about her. And if you take some time to go listen to her TED Talk, you'll find that she has this amazing story where she joined Boeing and she went to this meeting and she sat in a certain chair because there was only one chair left. And it just happened to be the CEO's chair. And even though she received plenty of looks from the men sitting around her like, are you going to move? She stayed put. My kind of woman. Welcome, Fariba Alamdari.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for such a great introduction. I hope everyone is doing well. What a great conference during COVID pandemic. As our previous speaker, Mari, also mentioned, it's quite normal to face a decision that can infuse the fear of failure in us. I'm sure we've all been in that situation. However, the question is, how we can boost our courage and do not let fear to dictate our choices in life. And how we can use collaboration and through compassion for ourselves and for others to help us in that process. So, like many people in my life, fear of failure has presented itself in many situations. I would like to share with you just one particular case to be respectful of the time. But before that, I'd like to give you a brief overview of my background. I was born and raised in Tehran. After the revolution in Iran, I went to the UK, where my academic career started during my doctoral studies at Cranfield University. I spent over 22 years at the university and achieved positions of professor and chair of Air Transport Management Department, and became the Dean of Engineering, Manufacturing, and Science. On the personal side of my life, by then I had 2 children, and my husband was also busy progressing in his career. So my move to the UK after the revolution, leaving my family behind, growing my academic career and raising a family at the time wasn't without turbulences and challenges. But after so many years, I got to a point that I felt, life is good. But this feeling didn't last very long, as I was approached by a recruiter discussing an executive opportunity in the Boeing company in Seattle in the US while I'm in the UK. Of course, my initial reaction was that I can't move to the US and join the icon of the aerospace industry. So the thought of moving from UK to US, from academia to corporate America, from my comfort zone to an unknown territory, building credibility in a new organization, which has its own unique culture, was very daunting. And that would be the second time I moved countries. So I thought, no, that would be difficult. I also thought by now I have a family, so my move would have some implications for my family. Going over these thoughts over and over for a period of time, I realized that these were fears of failures disguised as being practical. Anyway, cutting long story short, with strong support from my husband, I decided to face another challenge in my life and moved to Seattle 14 years ago. And my first position was Vice President of Marketing at Boeing Commercial Airplane. My move to the US hasn't been without challenges, and for sure, working in the Boeing company was an adventure, very interesting, and I would do it over and over. I'm really happy that I made that decision. In all testing situation, whether it's in my business or personal life, I very much like to say that I always feel strong and brave, but that's not how I feel or felt at the time. Every time I was afraid and uncomfortable. What would people think of me? How I would fit in my new environment, especially as a woman in a male-orientated industry, and as one with different ethnicity and accent, especially from Iran, with all the negative news in the media about it. However, over time, I began to practice to turn my fears of failure and self-doubt to courage and inner strength. And here are some of my thoughts and practices that helped me to do that, and I'd like to share it with you. So one, I found it is very, very important to me to actually be clear about what I really want in my career and my personal life. This is important. I knew the pathway to my goal was defined by my decision and actions. Yes, I love to get help, and we talk about that. but unless I take action, nothing is going to happen. I also learned that being open to new opportunities that could boost my courage to take on challenges that others might avoid would be helpful. Began to see it will not be helpful if I stayed in my comfort zone for long. Collaboration and good relationship with others have been great source of courage for me. Several men and women supported me, and they've been helping me tremendously in my business and personal life. There is no war between women and men. We all have people who have helped us, and they will continue helping us. And please, those men who are in the audience, remember your role in this situation. I try to gain my courage and confidence from other sources, such as good education and training. I often took obstacles in my life and turned them into assets. And that's actually the basis of my TED Talk. And I found out that it is important to me to be myself, like what Murray said, and trust the personal qualities that have brought me to each of the new opportunities that came my way. I also do my best to practice humility, knowing that I will learn from my potential failures. And my motto is that I shall rise from my ashes again. Of course, I am not saying being courageous is about assuming that negative things won't happen or there are no risks. It has always been for me being vulnerable and follow my passion. We all know that we tell ourselves stories about who we are all the time. These stories over time shape our beliefs, the way we think, the way we make decisions about our future path, and the way we act. So my question to finish is that I wonder what story you tell yourself about you and what you practice to boost your courage in order to achieve your goals or even go beyond. So I'd like to finish here. And thank you, Fiona, for inviting me to be part of this great conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Fariba. That was fabulous. Now, last but not least, our next speaker has quite the profile. So much so, I cannot do an introduction without my paper. But you would never guess when you talk to her. As Director of Aeronautics for NASA Ames Research Center, she oversees hundreds of people, huge budgets, and projects that cover everything from UAS to wind tunnel operations. Now, this is the bit that I definitely need my notes for. Earlier in her career, she served as the Heat Shield Chief Engineer for several major projects, including the Mars Pathfinder and the Stardust Sample Return Capsule. She was also the lead inventor of the primary heat shield for the Stardust Return Capsule, the Mars Science Laboratory, the SpaceX Dragon Capsule, and the planned 2020 Mars mission. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe she's here, but please give me a warm welcome to Wee Tran.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. Yes, I can conquer Zoom.
Team effort with Jamie.
Just need a PC, that's it. So good morning. I am so happy and so honored to be attending this summit with you all. And I am so honored to be able to serve on the same panel with Mari and Fabia as the two women that the CEO and the VP for marketing is huge. I haven't done this before, so thank you for letting me crash your party there. So I have a pretty humble background. I'm the immigrant, I'm the refugee, however you name it. So came from Vietnam after the war. I grew up in the war, and I was, in a very small town in South Vietnam. So going to school is a privilege, not the right. So you have to earn it. And, outside that, dealing with the war is pretty challenging. But I know that I only wanted to become something rather than a wife. So I go to school and trying to do well. I love chemistry and math. And, if you think back about who was the first teacher that actually inspired you to be in STEM, I bet you every one of you can name him or her. So one of my teacher, my chemistry teacher, was the one that inspired me to be in STEM. So fast forward to teenager year, I was trying to go to school, survive the war, and then the communists took over Vietnam. Living under them in that regime for 4 years, it was rough as far as, food, basic stuff for life, but also the dream of going to school dashed away too. So, and with that, we decided to leave the country. So in 1980, 70 and 80, you probably hear, about boat people left Vietnam in the South Pacific Ocean infested with pirates. So we survived that too. So I came to this country. I was in South Dakota working a farm, and, we didn't risk. One thing is that I wanted to have an education, but working full-time in the farm, part-time in the nursing home, it probably wouldn't be allowing for any much schooling. So my parents, once again, packed us up, leave South Dakota, and come to California. And I've been here ever since. So when I came here, my family is huge. We have 11 of us. 11 of us. I have 10 brothers and sisters, so I come from a big family, and they're all younger than most of them are younger than I am, so spend a lot of time taking care of them, helping my parents, taking care of them. And I continue to go to school, and which I love. School, again, is a privilege. So when I came to this country, oh, you have to go to school, that wasn't a challenge for me. But since I was little, I always wanted to work for NASA in space. I didn't know about NASA. I didn't know much. But when I came to this country, I found out about NASA. So when I was in junior college, I saw an advertisement for NASA internship. I said, wow, I wanted to do that. And, coming to this country, and after 2 years, I still broken English, take chemistry, which I do well, even though I don't speak English that well, but chemistry, math, the same thing. And so I applied. I didn't think that I'm going to get it. And I got a phone call and said, you have an interview. So it was very scary. But but I built on the courage that I had learned from my parents, packing up the family, leave Vietnam, packing up the family again, leaving South Dakota to California. That courage gave me a strength to conduct myself in an interview. And of course, I got a job, fortunately. And I've been here at NASA ever since. That's my dream job, and that's where I want to be. So that courage helped me to continue on my career. And, you know, as Fiona said, I've done quite a bit in engineering, in material engineering. And in 2000, I started to feel like, what else is out there? And there was a job opening in the directorate office, and they were looking for a technical manager to oversee about $600 million a year portfolio in aerospace. And it ranged from high-end computing, IT infrastructure, quantum computing, material. It's a lot of things, right? In aviation, air traffic management, which I didn't know much about because most of my technical career was in space. But I took that big leap again. The courage that helped me to say, what is out there? What else can I learn? And by 2000, I already done Stardust. I've done 5 Mars missions. And I told myself, I said, okay, what is the 7th mission going to do for you? You know, what is it going to do for my knowledge seeking and my growth in my technical field? I said, well, no, not really. And it's also a time for my protege to move up in the technical leadership. I've been training them to do that. So I took another leap to apply for that position, and I got it. And since then, I've been moving up to the directorship of aeronautics at Ames. And in its 80 years of history, I'm the first woman that hold that post. They all men before, and they all great men. But I was so humble to be able to compete and acquire this responsibility. So through my career, from where I came from, how I struggle through, make it through in this country, and to where I am, I'm always looking for a way to help others. There's a lot of folks that like me, so I always mentoring people. I had students, and and this is something that I as a leader and as a director, I always have to impress on our people you have to do extra work in order to include diversity in your workforce. And diversity actually build the organization stronger. So part of, as an engineer, I reach out to disadvantaged students that didn't have a strong home to support them. And I was able to bring up a few of them that actually accomplished themselves. I have one of the story that I had was, I had a student, he's a Black Black American man at that time, young man. And he had 2 kids, he lived with his grandmother. And he wanted to do something else. So he did like what I did, went to De Anza College, applied for the internship, and I selected him. But I can see that he struggled quite a bit, both at home and at work. So I had to take special time to mentor him, just like I get mentored by my mentors. Both of my mentors are men. So I'm very grateful for the time and the effort that they put into to make me where I am. So as a leader, I think that we need to reach out and making sure that our diversity in the workforce is achieved. And diversity brings success, and diversity brings inclusion and warmth to the organization. So with that, I want to again thank you for inviting me to this summit, and I'm very humble to be here with you all.
Thank you so much, Lluhi. And it was actually a male colleague of yours that reached out to me and put us in touch. And I know how important those male colleagues are. I actually have a former male colleague that I used to work with sat here with me right now, Andrew from NICOP. Perhaps I'll let you meet him later. But we, Marty and Fariba, you know, if you were looking at the comments, wow, I'm sitting here tearing up. And there's one that I've picked out, and this one is for we. And this is what Leading Ladies is all about, because it's picking each other up, it's offering each other opportunities. So Felisa Gray Kemp says, have you ever considered writing a book? I know people in publishing and Hollywood, and your life is a movie playing in my head. So maybe we'll see you at the movie theater sometime soon. I will put the two of you in touch. But seriously, everybody, this is what Leading Ladies is about. We all amplify one another. I don't think I know anybody who can see just how much potential they have. So it's really, really important to spotlight each other's achievements and each other's potential, because that's the way we're going to smash through those ceilings.